Howdy ho, Andrew aka Kalfear here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another episode of Hilarious Gaming Stories. So I think this might be the final video on DAoC until I do my long form video about DAoC in the future. But before that, here's a short message. Hey all, just a quick mention here. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment on the videos you like. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, which helps me. Takes 2 seconds. So thanks in advance. Alrighty, so DAoC had a ton of wonderful things in it, but the one thing I really wanted to talk about before I finished off this string of short form videos is DAoC housing. DAoC did a magnificent job with their housing, I felt. And early on, they did a magnificent job with their economy. So I wanted to touch on those two aspects. So let's start with the housing. The way DAoC handled housing was they were coming out with the housing expansion, and there was these plots, and you had to, it was a first come first serve on the plots. So, but it was also an auction. So you would find a plot that you were interested in for your house. And it was, we knew it was coming up. So we would go to, I collected from the guild because I was buying for the guild house originally, not my personal house. And I went to the plot and I waited. And finally the auction opened up. And like I sat there, I literally had my character sit there, and when I wasn't there, I had another guildmate come in and just sit there so that people knew these guys are waiting for this lot. Because they're, to the credit, I don't know about the other realms or the other servers, but on my server, there wasn't a lot of drama about the lots. Like if you saw somebody sitting there, you let them, you moved on and found a lot that you liked somewhere else in the housing expansion. You didn't sit there and try to fight them for it. So I found a nice place right with the lake right in front of us, and yeah, and I sat there, and the day came to put in the bid, and I put in the bid, and now you have a week to wait to see if somebody outbids you. So every day I'd check, and I think somebody did outbid me 3 times, and I'd check and I'd up the bid over theirs. And we did get the lot eventually. But I thought this was a great way to do it, because I was in Ultima Online for the housing. Like I was in the alpha test, and then the beta test, and then the retail for Ultima Online. And it was free flow, how it first come first serve. So even though my guild in Ultima Online got great, like we got pristine area, we lucked out with that. If you came into UO even a week after the housing started, there was nowhere to build. You were SOL. So DAoC was, they just kept expanding it if more people wanted it, but we got the lot we wanted, and guildmates bought the lots next to the guild house, and then I bought one, and we just basically, we circled this lake, and we just built our guild house, and then guild houses, and then splattering in some affiliate guilds, because in DAoC they came up with a great idea where you could have affiliate guilds. So there was my guild, and then there was Lane's guild. Lane was in a different guild, but we were affiliates together. And then there was another guild, and they were affiliates. So we all built around here to be around each other. And I mean, that just builds community, for lack of a better word. So we got the guild house, and then I bought the mansion for the guild, and yeah, we went to town doing that, decorating it and all that. I did a bit of decorating outside, but I left the decorating to others. That's never really been my big cup of tea. But so that was fantastic. I really liked how they did it. But what I liked even more, and unfortunately they changed this, and I think this is also one of the changes that ruined the game, originally in DAoC, you had crafting and there was no auction house. So you would become a master crafter. Like I was a master weaponsmith and armorsmith. So people would come up to me and they go, can you build me this sword and mace or whatever? Or can you build me a set of armor or whatever? And I was very reasonable. I saw some other people be very unreasonable. I was very reasonable. I would tell them, you pay for the materials, because it was still a random chance and they wanted 99 or 100% quality. And as a master crafter, you range from basically 89% to 100. At 89, you had a bigger chance of 89, and then it got less and less and less chance until the 100, but there was still there. But if you wanted 99 or 100% there, I was going to have to recraft it a number of times, most likely. So I would tell them, you pay for the materials, and it'll cost you like 1 or 2 platinum after that, which wasn't really a lot, but it just, token little bit of money. And that's what I would do. And then I'd sell it to them. But when they did the housing, you could put up a vendor. Now I think they got this out of Star Wars Galaxies, where in Star Wars Galaxies, you would set up a house or usually a guild hall, and you would put vendors in it. And then you would put items into your vendor and you'd price it. And then players could come into your guild hall or your house and they could go shopping, and they could decide if they were willing to pay that, or they could go to your neighbor's house and they could look at that vendor or the next vendor. And, you would build up your customer base on good quality and good reputation. And that's what DAoC did originally, is each house could put one vendor, and you would put your items on the vendor, and people could buy from it. They could wander through the housing and go to the different vendors and buy. Then DAoC came out with the auction house, and that ruined everything, because the biggest guild on the server immediately spammed the auction house with items grossly under cost, massively under cost, so that individuals and small guilds could not compete, and they would give up. So they'd corner the market. Once they cornered the market, they would skyrocket but these guys had stopped crafting. So people would be like, can you craft? No, you didn't want to buy from me before. Why do I want to craft now? It ruined it. The auction house literally ruined the economy in Dark Age of Camelot. But again, it was laziness of the players. The players were bitching, I don't want to walk through all those houses. I just want to go to an auction house and buy. And we saw the same thing in SWTOR, is big guilds would undercut everything so that the individual crafters and the small guild, they couldn't compete because they can't run at a loss. So they would give up, and then the big guilds would jack up the prices huge. So I'm not a big fan of auction houses. I understand the convenience of them, but I much prefer the old Star Wars Galaxy or the early DAoC versions, where it's up to the customer to go to the different vendors. If they're that worried about the best deal, then it's on them to spend the time to shop, just like real life. Like I shop at Costco. I shop at 5 different grocery stores each month. And the reason I do that is I took the time to price out the items I buy. So I know this store sells this item at the lowest cost. This store sells this item at the lowest cost. Costco sells this item at the lowest cost. So I'll buy these items at Costco, these items here, these items here, these items here. And that's how I do in my shop. And I dare say I probably save $60 to $70 a month just doing that. And it was the same thing in the gaming, is if you were willing to spend the time, you could find the deals. Or you could go to people that you respected and trusted, that had never scammed you, had always delivered. Like, I did not put any products on my vendor that were under 98% quality. Just it. I knew other people, they put their 89s out there, and I don't blame them for that. But me personally, I only put 98, 99, and 100% quality. on my vendors. And that 100% quality, that price was jacked up because that was a lot of work and a lot of materials to get it and a lot of time. So yeah, I loved the early DAoC housing and by extension, the vendors on the porch of those houses. That's how an RPG should do it, because it builds community and it doesn't allow the big guilds to abuse the small guilds or the individual crafters. ESO has the same problem. They got the auction houses, exact same problem. So yeah, the other one I wanted to talk about in DAoC, besides the housing and the auction house, was the backdrop, the environment. I'm going to talk about Albion because, again, I only spent a very short time in Hibernia and I didn't like it. Other than I loved their spiral staircases up into their tree houses, but other than that, I really wasn't a fan of Hibernia. And I spent even less time in Midgard. I got dragged over there on a PvP server, but I didn't stay for long on it. Albion had a gorgeous mix of fantasy and old Roman concepts, like the aqueducts, and like some of the undead were Roman legionnaires. And I always loved that. It was a very interesting mix, early Albion. But what I was more impressed by, and I wish this had come to fruition, is Mythic at their height, when DAoC was a massive, massive, massive success, and it was. They were talking about coming out with a sci-fi MMORPG called Imperium. And the concept for that was, what if the Roman Empire never collapsed? So you would have gone to ancient Rome and speculated how society would have grown or evolved under the Roman ethics and concepts and ideals into a space race, like spacefaring race in a sci-fi setting. I was all in. I wanted to play that game so badly. Unfortunately, they canceled it because their next two expansions were not good. They hurt the game and it just bled out the player base, and that was the end of that. And then EA bought Mythic, and EA never does anything good for gaming. So, but I loved that concept, and to this day I wish somebody would come out with that concept. Think of Babylon 5. You had not Jakar, but oh god, what was his name? But he was basically the Centauri. He was basically a Roman culture. That's what they were in a sci-fi setting. And I think they went a little too heavy into the Roman culture for Babylon 5, but it was the same basic concept, and I loved it. They're very warmongering. They're very militaristic, and their society is formed like that with the Senate and everything, and the political intrigue and everything. I gobble this stuff up. And I would have loved to have seen that game come to reality, because before Mythic ruined their own game, DAoC was a masterpiece. It really was. It's my second favorite MMORPG of all time, and I only left because they ruined the game in expansions, bringing in stupid overpowered characters, dumbing everything down so that it was easier for the solo player. And it wasn't the same. It wasn't as fun. And the community started lacking because of it. If you're always solo, there's no reason to build those familiarity bonds with your realm mates. And that's basically what happened in DAoC. So anyway, I wanted to touch on those things. This will be my final DAoC video until I do my long form video. I'm going to start doing videos on all the different MMORPGs I've played over the years. DAoC and Neverwinter Nights will be the final two that I do. So there will be a whole list before them. But yeah. So anyway, that's my video for this week. I hope you've enjoyed my trip down memory lane of DAoC. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everyone to leave comments. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a long form reminiscence, I guess, of DAoC. And if you leave comments here, I might incorporate them into that video because, you know, you may bring up stuff that I've forgotten about or bring up stuff I wasn't even aware of. So please comment. The other reason is not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos, which helps me grow my channel. So as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.